You know, when you get a call like this to speak about Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and a character of his, it's a daunting task, because there's so much about his life that we could talk about. We could talk for days about what his character was like. And I had one small portion, but I wasn't sure where I was going to go. At first, I was going to talk about Seerat-un-Nabi, about that ascension, and about the prophet, peace be upon him, going through the 7 levels, meeting 8 prophets, starting with Adam as a father, and Ibrahim really was a father, and all between being brothers. And the lesson he had to learn from each one of them to be able to culminate what he had to do to come back to earth and teach us. And I said, well, that's a long talk topic. And I said, what else am I talking about? So I'm reading the book, I forget what book it was reading. And this ayah in English pops out at me, and it says, most surely in this is a message to a people who serve. And we have not sent you but as a mercy to the whole world. So we see here that Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was sent as a mercy to the world. And that wasn't his character, that was his job. What character did he have that we can emulate, because we're supposed to emulate what he did, in order to bring about a change in our life and the community we live in, like he brought a change in the life of the community he was in. And understanding all the frustrations, anxieties, and all the things he went through, the injuries and everything else, in the beginning of the mission, during one of the particular battles, and etc. He went through a lot, losing every one of his sons, and only having daughters that made it. And then being sad when he died and when he passed away, just like any other human being. What was his character? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala presents him as a man first, absolutely, because he can't be Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said, La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah, to separate between the two, as opposed to what was presented prior to that, making it seem as if man was the creator, man was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we want a complete separation, that there's nothing that is in this universe, nothing, any deity, anything at all can be used or served except the one who created it all. And he's independent of all that. And that man, a human being, who can be his messengers, who can be his Rasuls and the Nabi. But they're just that, a man, human beings that serve through the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to mankind. One of the hadiths that the Prophet had said is, I have not been sent to lay a curse upon mankind, but to be a blessing to them. And this was in request of something that happened, and I don't know what you call it, true whole story. Something happened, they said, curse him, talk about him, just bring him down, just get on him. I'm using that natural vernacular. He says, no, it's not my job. My job was not to bring havoc to people. My job was to bring peace and mercy to people. So he was a person that represented that was merciful. He was a person that represented that was peaceful. He was a person that represented bringing calm to the world. To the extent where a Jewish person came to him that he had borrowed money from, and he came about 3 days early, berating the prophet about his money. Just jumped on people, told him his words. And the prophet looked at him and smiled. He said, give him his stuff, and plus give him more. And when he looked at him, he says, the man came early, but give it to him. And he smiled. And everybody goes, why'd you do that? He said, because this is my obligation. I have 3 more days. I could have waited. But the man came with me this way, so let's clear it up and get it straightened out. He wasn't one to sit up there and beat people up. He wasn't one to try to hurt people. Even after being stoned in Ta'if, coming back, he said, bleeding and exhausted, oh my Lord, guide my people along the true path as they are ignorant of truth. Now, let's be honest, which one of us, after being stoned, with blood rushing down our body, we can hear squishing in our sandals, would have made a dua like that? I don't believe I would have. I'm being honest, I just don't believe I would have. I don't believe any of you would have. You just said, let me get those so-and-so, let me get the back, I'll bring the rap down upon them, this, that, and the other. This man knew his role. And he made a dua for them, even though they did what they did. Now, we have to understand something. This was a man, before I get into the other stuff. A man that came in a tumultuous time. A man that came when there was confusion. A man that came when people in that time needed direction. Positive direction will help bring a change about in the world. Now, I'm deviating because we're in that same time. Think about it. We're in that same time where this world needs direction, positive direction from the source that can only give direction for all of mankind. And that's Islam. That is you and I. And all the person that calls themselves Muslim. Standing up and being, as the Prophet was, peace be upon him, a person of compassion, a person of empathy, a person that showed how to live in the world despite the differences there was and recognize there's but one. And that's one of the things I'm going to say that talks about that. We look at this world, and I remember my name world, and said, what's the best thing we could call ourselves? He says, the best thing we could call ourselves are human beings. Human beings. You know what the Prophet told us? Isn't that what he shared with us? Did he bite his tongue? Sometimes we bite our tongue. Sometimes we don't even want to represent the religion. Sometimes we're afraid to tell people our names, depending on what circumstances we're in. Everybody don't have to change your name, but you should still acknowledge who you are when people ask you. And he said this, one of the hadiths told me, and he is not a believer. By God, he is not a believer. He is not a believer with whom his neighbors are not secure. That's so. We are supposed to make sure our neighbors are secure. Now you have to ask yourself the question, is that happening nowadays? Not just in our world, in the Islamic world. Our neighbors aren't secure. We're not building or developing those protective measures that are necessary to make sure that people are safe. In fact, we're probably doing just the opposite. We're joining the groups that's doing the problems. Quick to want to run out and beat somebody up. I don't mean physically, and that may be too. We'll keep the one to say, you're a Catholic, you're this, you're that. The Prophet people won't even say that. He recognized all people. He recognized anybody and everybody, even the one that threw trash on him. He was compassionate. So our neighbors have to be secure. We have to begin to show love and care for all human beings. Do we understand what that means? That we have to show love and care for all human beings? Now I'm going to say this, that maybe we don't have to like their lifestyle. That's probably the best I want to say it. We don't have to like anybody's lifestyle. But we still need to protect the human nature. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala take care of the lifestyle. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala take care of wrongs. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala take care of all that. It's not my job. I'm not a judge. And we're not meant to be judges. We are meant to admonish people with truth in a respectful way. The Prophet, peace be upon him, I mean, how many people he really walk up to and teach or try to teach? How was his life shown? By his action, by the things he did. There was a situation where a companion was black, and one of the companions said, that black man, he went on, the prophet, peace be upon him, said, you are all Adam's offspring, and Adam was born of clay. Adam was born of clay. I know we'll get into the clay thing, but in other words, Adam and you and I, regardless of our color, regardless of our national origin, regardless of our language, regardless of what, are all one human being. And our differences come as a result of nature or the environment that we're in. So we're not to look at people down because they're this, or up because they're that, or better because they're this, or worse because they're that. We're supposed to recognize the equality of all human beings in the fact that we are human beings. Now, will there be people more higher, lower, whatever position? Yes, there will be that, because that's just the law of nature. Some people will be better in some areas than other people. Some people will be worse in some areas than other people. Some people will rise in position, some people aren't. But does that make them better? Or does it mean that they're filling an obligation in the community that needs to be filled as equal, no better than anybody else's position in the community that's filling the position that needs to be done in that community? The prophet recognized that. In that very short sentence, he said, you are all Adam's offspring, and Adam was born of clay. He taught that we should live among human beings as flowers, and not thorns, and not give trouble to anybody. Flowers smell sweet. Flowers look beautiful. Flowers contribute to the beauty of the nature. Thorns hurt, stick, prick. They create problems. We are not to be thorns. We are to be like the flower. Being beautiful, beautiful fragrance, adding to the value of what's going on in the world, and ensuring that we're doing the best within our capacity to do that. The believer, prophet, peace be upon him, taught, if he's not a benefit to others, he must not, at least, not harm them. Think about your own life. If you're not a benefit to people, you at least try not to harm them. I said it a couple of sentences earlier. We are supposed to bring value to the society. We are supposed to bring value to the culture. We're supposed to bring value to the human beings and the people we interact with. We bring value. Now, does that mean you have to be a scholar? I'm not a scholar. I've been blessed to know how to read books and research things. I got $10,000 worth of books at home. 8,000 of them are Islamic books. In all levels, all societies, in the languages, Arabic and English. My Arabic's not that great, but I can read a little bit. I'm not going to research and get the answer I want. But does that mean I'm supposed to sit back and do nothing? Oh, I'm not a scholar, so I shouldn't speak out. Prophet, peace be upon him, was a human being. They say an unlearned human being. Well, also the ayah saw the value in giving him the message. And his first message was Ikra, read, study. But study what first? The nature. He didn't have, but they say he couldn't read, right? That's what they say. You know, people say, no, that's not true. He can come, this is a signature and all that stuff. I'm not debating that. But what was he supposed to read? He was supposed to read the nature of the society and then where we're at. Most people here from Philadelphia. I'm not from Jersey. So you're supposed to read what's going on in Philadelphia. Not what's written down. Read it. By seeing what's happening, see what's going on, see what interaction going on. Read it and then make a change on that based upon the laws of the ayah that's given you from the Quran or what other people got. And I guarantee you, every scholar that's a scholar started out like we started out, just researching and listening and having somebody teach them something and do something. And then they went on their independent thinking to be able to get what they got. So do I appreciate and love the scholars? Yes, I do. But I understand the Lord SWT gave us all that capacity. All we have to do is dedicate ourselves like they did, and we will have the same capacity that they had. So I'm not one that quotes a lot of scholars. I'll tell you that right now. I don't do it. My comments come basically from the Quran and the hadiths I can prove that verify the Quran. That's where my comments usually come from. I might give a hadith here, I might give a hadith there, but that's not where I come from. Because the Prophet, peace be upon him, he didn't have the hadith, he lived them. And we look at what he did, what he observed, what they observed he did, not necessarily what he said. They look at what he observed he did. People observed him doing these things. And they commented on it. And we are supposed to pick up that nature, pick up that spirit, pick it up and develop it in our souls and our style. You better make a change. Now, I'm sharing this with you, I guess. Most people know. I'll be 79 years old this year. Okay? And I've been around Islam one way, shape, or form since 1955. From the Nation of Islam to now. And I can remember a time where I was sat on boards when I was in training, and I sat on a couple of boards, and they sent me all over the world, really. And I remember going into towns, a town like Philadelphia, a town like San Francisco, Las Vegas, New Orleans, Dallas, Texas, Boston, and I had trouble finding a masjid. I remember those days. Oh, I want to make Juma. Where can I go? Couldn't find one. 5, 10 years later, guess what? I don't know of a large town, even a small town, you can go where you can't find a masjid. Because there was somebody living the example that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam lived, and people saw it and gravitated towards it and learned the message that he gave, that they got through his observation from the Quran to be able to build communities. This community didn't come by accident. Also, I wanted it here. I know he didn't ask me to say it, I'm just saying, because that's how I feel. Allah SWT wanted it here. None of us came by our Islam because we decided. Allah SWT decided. So whether we're born into it or we came into it, Allah SWT decide who's going to be Muslim. We don't make that decision. Then you know how these talk about well, at least there's a couple of versions of it, when the Jewish beard came by, the Prophet, peace be upon him, stood up. And the companion asked why he stood up for a Jew. And there are two different statements. One says, was he not a human being? The other one says, his body was a servant to him. I'm standing up for the body, the servant. So he understood and respected life, but he also respected the process that the body goes through during death. He had total respect for the human being. All of this goes to show the emphasis on character building. All of it. And the excellence in moral and social conduct. We have an obligation to conduct ourselves a certain way. The Muslim, we say, Assalamu alaikum. Sometimes say, Rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And the answer should be, wa alaikum assalam, Rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We should shake each other's hand with joy and glee. Understand that one hadith talks about every time you shake a brother's hand, sins fall off you like leaves fall off a tree. So we look at the Prophet, peace be upon him. His joy was he always smiled. He always did good. He gave people more than what they asked for. He never rebuked anybody. One of his servants says, I've never heard him rebuke me. He never rebuked me all the years I served him. If I did a job, he never told me I did it wrong. If I messed up, he never told me I messed up. What's that telling you? He allowed each individual to do the best they can in the capacity that they had. Well, that's not the way to do that. You got to do it this way. He didn't know that way. He knew this way. So how you going to rebuke somebody for what they're doing when they're doing the best they can? You can say, thank you, Bill, thank you very much. That's the attitude he had. He didn't tell you how to do it, and he didn't chastise you if you did it when it couldn't be considered wrong. So we need to understand the character of the prophet, peace be upon him. He was a man like any other man. Joyous things made him joyful. Sad things saddened him. For the one thing he realized that even though he was first and foremost a lost servant, he recognized that he shouldn't place any more importance on him than he should place upon the feeling that a lost one of idols will have given him. He looked what the answer should be first. He took his emotion out of it and gave the answer that was supposedly given based upon the lost one of idols revealed to him. You know, we'll do sometimes. I think it should be this way. And what did the Quran say? What did he say? I think it should have went that way. What makes you understand that that's the way to be done? You're not the one that did it, he did it. So we have to pull back that emotion that wants us to lash out at people, that wants us to make people do what we want them to do when we want them to do it the way we want them to do it. Yeah, they should. I use this a lot. Well, how come that person not Muslim? I've been talking to them for 35 years. That may be the problem. That Muslim, you've been talking to them for 35 years. You know, lost one, I just speak to them. Speak to them once you tell them what they have to say, keep on pushing. Allah makes Muslims, not us. And the community decide about Allah too. We don't make that decision either. Sometimes they go, I think this can be best. I don't get that argument no more. I used to, years and years ago. I don't get that argument. All I want to know is, do you accept the Quran? Do you accept the Hadith Qudsi? And some of them could do, but Hadith Qudsi, which we know is sacred. Do you accept that we say, La ilaha illallah Rasulullah, with the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? That would be his example. Where are you at? La ilaha illallah Rasulullah. What's your book? Quran. His history depends on who wrote it. I read some books from the life of the Prophet, peace be upon him. This one thing, another one talking this one thing, and you almost feel like they're different. All depends who's writing it, who's giving the example. I've read 23 translations of Quran. None of them are the same. It all depends on who translated it, where they were at, what was going on in their society. So does that make any of them wrong? No. What it means is this person saw it this way, this person saw it that way. So what's our best example? The Prophet, peace be upon him, gave us the whole Quran. He gave it to the language of Allah subhanahu that he made easy for us. All we have to do is look at it and study it. And we want to dedicate ourselves to it. I don't know how many people haven't seen him. I think I haven't seen him in Italian. Ibn Sina was a scholar, philosopher. And one day he came before the court that determined who was the best in the presentation. He presented an idea in Arabic. They said, you don't know Arabic, you can't do that to us. You can't say that. We don't accept that. Because he wasn't what they considered a scholar. Well, he went back. He did more study, more research, came back the next year and blew him out of the water. He wrote a book, a compendium of the soul. You need to read it if you get a chance. You'll understand that your scholarly efforts will come from your endeavor. And although I presented what I presented, that much. You still got 3 more brothers who will take it even further. I just kind of set some kind of bar, I don't know. But I pray to Allah that whatever I said, you got something from it. And that you recognize one thing. Your growth in Islam only depends upon one person. That's you. No imam, no scholar to help you grow. You got to grow yourself. You'll learn from them, you'll listen to them, you'll study them. But if you don't get it in your heart, not your head. Crown is the problem, is heart. If you don't get it in your heart, you're just the person who that's a quote without giving any sense of direction to it. Ibrahim represented on the top after Muhammad went through the prophet. All the prophets of learning, of education, of all development, of all, each of them representing something different. He represented rational thought in interpreting what was going on in the world. And Muhammad ﷺ had to go through every last one of those prophets to get what he had to learn. It didn't say how long he stayed with them. It just said he greeted them. It didn't say how long, but he had to learn something from every one of them. And when he got to the top, and he got to teach his Ibrahim, he was then able to lead the prophets in prayer. And the rest of how he got to prayer, so that's another story. But that's what happened, and that's where we're at. We're at a stage right now in our development in this country. The Muslims are evolving. And they're evolving because they're getting more and more involved in what the religion is about. Without worrying about what method is best. You get back to the core. La ilaha illallah Rasulullah. Understanding Iman, understanding Salah, understanding Zakat, understanding Saum, and inshallah understanding Hajj. And I'm going to end with this. If you haven't made Hajj, make your chance, make your time to do it. It's an experience you will never, ever forget. And if you go there with the right intention, this is what will happen to you. That's how you'll grow. So I ask Allah to forgive me for any mistakes I made, and ask Allah to help you grow, and pray that what I presented to you, I presented to myself as well, so I can grow too. And I greet you again, as I greet you when I came before you. With greetings. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
He was from Masjid al-Tawheed. Imam Dawud Muhammad Sahab is from Masjid al-Tawheed.
Assalamu alaikum. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. Allahumma salli wa sallim ala abdika wa rasulika Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallim. Beloved brothers, and I believe sisters next door, I bear witness that there is no God but thee, God Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who has no partners. And I bear witness that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is his servant and his prophet. And we ask that Allah's peace and blessing be upon his servant, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, his family, his companions, and those of us who follow them until the day of judgment. But Allah Ta'ala, he says to us in the in Surah number 34, ayat 28. I was going to say the translation, but Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا كَافِةً لِلنَّاسِ بَشِيرًا وَنَذِيرًا وَلَكِنَّ أَكْثَرَ النَّاسِ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. Sadaqallahu al-Azim. Surely the Lord speaks the truth. The Allah Ta'ala translation is that, and we have not sent thee except as a bringer of good tidings and a warner unto all mankind. But most of mankind know not. And then Allah Ta'ala, He tells us in Surah 21, ayat 107, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. Allah Ta'ala says, and we have not sent you, speaking of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, except as a mercy to the worlds. Alhamdulillah. Beloved brothers and sisters, by the grace and mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He sent Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings upon him, as a mercy, as a human being, as a husband, as a father, as a teacher, a leader, a scholar, and much more. And he showed through his actions and his character the way for the believers to exemplify life in Islam as servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and as a guide to all mankind. How we should behave in a manner that is pleasing to Allah. He demonstrated to us how the Quran is to be applied in our everyday daily lives, and said things that were good for us, things that were practical for us. And when his wife Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, was asked about his character, she said that his character was the Quran. That he was sincere, honest, grateful, and he was straightforward. He was a humble man. He was a patient man. He was calm, and he was forgiving. He never lied to anybody. He didn't go around talking negative about people behind their backs, like we call it backbiting. He didn't slander other people. He had a cheerful disposition, and he would treat all people with respect. And he would even go and show that he was concerned about people who did bad things to him when he noticed, oh, they didn't come out this morning. They didn't do what they did yesterday. They've been doing it every day. What happened? He was concerned. He was the perfect representative of what it means to be a believer, to be a Muslim, to be one who worships Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and obeys what Allah ta'ala says with all heart and soul at all times, not just when you feel like it. In other words, we too must be like that. We too must have the proper behavior and respect to the one who created us, our Lord, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we should have respect for other human beings, but not only human beings, but all creation. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that in the translation, verily, Allah has prescribed excellence in all things. Thus, if you kill in a good manner. If you slaughter in a good manner, that each of you should sharpen his blade to make sure it's not a dull blade that the animal is going to suffer when you go to slaughter it. He saw a man one time sharpening his blade right in front of what he was about to slaughter. And he asked him, because he was so merciful, he said, are you going to slaughter it twice? You're going to kill it twice? You're already killing it. You're showing what you're about to do to me. Do you really have to do that? Can't you just sharpen it over there and then come say Bismillah and handle your business? So the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings upon him, he meant all good life, or all life should be treated good, in a good manner, including in animals, if you had to slaughter it. Now, if he felt that way about an animal, how do you think he feels about people, hurting people? Let alone just ordinary people. How about Muslims hurting Muslims? But you have to sharpen your blade to slaughter an animal, but you won't sharpen that tongue because it's already too sharp already. Alhamdulillah. Therefore, our life and other life ought to be respected too. All life. Human life, animal life. So if we must spare the suffering, let us remember, let's spare the feelings of each other. The Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that he even had hopes for goodness in the people who didn't even like him. He prayed that the people would change, that he was going to show them by example, that he wasn't going to do what we used to call back in the day tit for tat. You do this to me, I'm going to try to do one better than that on you, then you're going to come back on me, and then we're going to go bicker back and forth. That's not how he did things. He tried to show people respect and love, kindness. He smiled a lot. He did things for the sake of Allah. Subhanahu wa ta'ala. He was sincere in what he did. He was trustworthy, that even those who wanted to kill him, they still trusted him. He had good morals, he had good manners, he had good ethics, he had good speech. But never ever did he have a foul mouth. He did good things for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He had a good appearance, he had strong faith. He was brave. He was intelligent. And even his face was pleasant to look at. Not just his actions. But many of the people, such as his companions, they respected him so much. And they say that he had this glow in his face that they wouldn't even stare in his face for long periods of time. It wasn't because the glow in his face would burn him like the sun or anything, but they just had a certain amount of respect for him that you just didn't stare at him so hard. There is a story, or two stories. Actually, I talked with a brother a week ago, just before June. Actually, he was watching something on his phone. Remind me of a story now. That when the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was in the cave with his companion Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him. Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him, had a servant who would take his flock below the cave. He had sheep, he had goats. Some of you, I'm sure, know this story. And at night, they would come down, those nights that they were in the cave. And they would get milk from the animals each night. That was Amir, servant of Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him. And then when they got ready to go to Yathrib, as they call Medina now, there was another brother who had made allegiance to work with the Prophet Muhammad, to be a Muslim, to serve the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to be led by the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And he came with 2 camels. And they got on these camels and they're on their way to Yathrib, Medina as we know it today. And on the way there they saw a tent with a little light. And they were hungry. So they went there, and when they got there, there was just a woman there, no man. And they said that the Prophet, peace and blessings upon him, he said that, do you have anything to eat? And she said no. And he looked over and he saw a very small and frail goat. You see the ribs and all. And he said to the lady, he says, do you mind if I milk that goat? And she looked at him and she looked at the goat and she was like, well, I don't know. She said, but if you can get anything out of it, you go right ahead, help yourself. So the Prophet, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he went and he milked the goat. And she was surprised that he could get milk. Not only did he milk the goat before he left, he milked the goat again and left her a bucket of milk before he left. She told her husband when he arrived, after the Prophet had left, peace and blessings upon him, and she said that there was a man here. And she began to tell him the story. And this is one of the first times that anybody ever tried to describe the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings upon him. But she described him better than any movie writer or book writer could describe him if they were to try to describe him today. And I'm not going to go into all the description, but the description is just beautiful to hear. But one of the things she said to him about him, she said that the Prophet, he had this look, he had such a glow on his face. And he was so pleasant, and he had a wonderful smile. And she talked about his eyes and arches and eyebrows and his neck from the chin and up. And everything. She gave a whole description to her husband. She said, but one thing about him, she says, I was sewing, and I dropped my needle. And this man came over, and as he leaned over where I had dropped the needle, she said his face glowed so much that I could find the needle in the sand. Her husband looked at her and he said, that's the prophet that the Quraysh people are talking about. He says, when I see him, I am going to pledge allegiance to him. Alhamdulillah. Beloved brothers and sisters next door, we are like that husband. We haven't seen him either. But we know of him. And we know of the lessons that he left for us, which I feel is even more important than what he looked like. Inshallah, let us make an allegiance also to follow what he has left behind. For he was the best of all mankind. Inshallah, let us be the best of our time. I thank you for this honor. Sometimes they say it's short and sweet. I hope this was sweet. But I appreciate the honor. All praise due to Allah. I thank Allah for all the blessing He bestowed on us. I thank Allah for sending our community and the world the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam as an example for all mankind. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Jazakumullah Samjada, Imam Daud Sahab. Now we have our next speaker, Imam Seerat-un-Nabi. We all know him from many years when we have our meeting in 38 in Bali. It was very nice of him to come and join us. He's going to speak to us a few words. In the meantime, I request Dr. Seerat-un-Nabi Sahab. He's going to be the next speaker. He can come and go.
Alhamdulillah. نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. First, I'd like to say the praises belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We trust Allah, we depend upon Allah, we beseech His mercy, we ask for His guidance, we ask for His help. And we want to make sure that Allah is sufficient for us. And I wanted to say that because I'm not going to be long. There's really no need to be. And I'm quite sure all of us in here, those that I've met, first I want to thank the Ahmadiyya community. And they have been very gracious. Those that I've met from the Ahmadiyya community, I've grown to love them and appreciate the good works that they're doing and continuously do here in Philadelphia, PA. You know, and it's very important that as Muslims, we work together to establish a life, establish an ummah that was established by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The blueprint is already written. He established that in Medina. All we have to do is follow the blueprint, and we can have anything we want, inshallah. You know, but our life here on earth, you know, we begin to see that as Muslims, you know, coming from different parts of the world, you trying to get to know me, and I'm trying to get to know you. At the end of the day, we all one people. You know, and Allah has created all of us that we may come together to know each other, to respect each other, to value each other, to appreciate each other, and to work for the common good. None of us in here are perfect. All of us in here make mistakes. But we're constantly begging Allah. As Allah says in the Quran, فَإِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا إِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا. That when you're faced with a hardship, and you're faced with a challenge, trust Allah, and the ease is going to come. Because we don't know what we're going to be faced with in our life. The same way that Muhammad ibn Abdullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the same challenges that he went through. But what was different about him is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put a compelling nature inside of him that he couldn't do nothing but what Allah commanded him to do. Because when he was a young child, a young baby, maybe about 2, 3, almost 5 years old, when they removed his heart and cleaned it out, so that he would be free from all of the fitna. And we see how Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he went through a lot of challenges in his life. You know, one thing we can begin to see is that as Muslims here in Philadelphia, PA, we got to come together. You know, we can't be working separately. Ahmadiyya's over there, this masajid over there, that masajid over there, and then the enemy comes in and exploits us and dominates the situation. And that's what they're doing. You know, because they having us at odds with each other. You know, because we get so hung up on a person's method. You know, and that method sometimes it takes us away from the common sense. You know, the method that we follow is the Quran and how Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how he lived the Quran. And we study his seerah. So we want to know how he lived his life, study the seerah. And let Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, let his life become intimate to you. We haven't seen him physically, but we do see him. Because when we open up the Quran, we see Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And if we trust Allah and let Allah's word begin to germinate inside of our soul, no matter what you go through, you stand up tall. And because Allah says, وَصَبِّهُ بُكْرَةً أَصِيلًا, to glorify him morning, noon, and night. And that's what we have to get to. That no matter what goes on in our life, we trust Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we know that he's Rabbil Alameen, and he has to be sufficient for us. Because when your heart is in love with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, more than anything in the world, you can't damage yourself. But if you love others and things more than you love Allah, it's just a matter of time when you lose your mind. And that's how Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he loved Allah. The Sahabas that were around him loved Allah, and they gave their life. So our living and our dying and our worship and our sacrifice is only for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I said I'm not going to be long because it's really no need for me. And I try not to talk much unless I have to, but I don't have to because the other imams, they have spoken so eloquently. And time is, moving forward. But what I want to say this to the Ahmadiyya community, y'all are my friends. You're my brothers. And you have been so kind to me. You've always been gracious. Even when I go to the store on 52nd Street, they treat me so warm, treat me like I'm family. And I am family. Though I'm from a different ethnic background than you are, we still are one. Because we feel the pain, the same pain. We cry. We go through the same struggles. But if we work together as an ummah and build that ummatin wasatan, there's nobody can stop us. Because it's getting to the point now where the Muslim community here in Philadelphia and through our juries through the door, we got to come together. And if we come together as an ummah, believe me, we'll run this town. We'll run this town. And we're going to do it, inshallah. So I'm extending the invitation to my brothers and sisters from the Ahmadiyya community. I'm thankful. Y'all are my friends. And I would hope that, we can continue this, that we don't just meet together, on a function like this. But we can come together all the time. Call me sometimes. I build the house for dinner. Not by you, it's okay. Look, I'm not going to take your food. I'm eating the same food you eat. Call me sometime, and I'll call you at my house. I might even let you marry one of my daughters. I see you pause there. But really, in all the reality, let's come together as a ummah, and let's work together. I want to thank the leadership here, that he's been so gracious, very kind, and all the other brothers, man, so kind. May Allah bless y'all and give y'all tawfiq. May Allah bless y'all to continuously grow, and let us grow as an ummah, so we can build that ummatin wasatan. Assalamu alaikum.
Imam Jamil Abdullah Shah. I know he always had a inspired speak for us anytime he comes in, and if you hear we missed him. Our last speaker is going to be Dr. Madhir Abdullah Shah. He's going to talk about jihad.
Allah is merciful.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. I want you to imagine a world where a man and a wife are living together, and they're living in a household, and the wife is expecting a baby in her womb. They spent 280 days waiting for this baby to be born. At the end of this 280 days, the wife goes into labor. It's a very prolonged labor, It's a very painful labor. This is before modern day medicine, before modern day anesthesia, where labor is nearly pain-free. We should all thank our anesthesiologists on a regular basis. But at the end of this 280 days, they go through this process and they see the baby. But there's disappointment. The father looks at the baby and looks at the sex of the baby and sees it's a female. And they're both very disappointed. They're concerned about poverty. They're concerned that we may not be able to live our life because of this baby. They're so disappointed that they decide to bury the baby alive. It seems like a ridiculous idea. But in pre-Islamic Arabia, this was happening on a regular basis. Allah Ta'ala in the Holy Quran in chapter 17, verse 32 says, "Kill not your children for fear of poverty. It is we who provide for them and for you. Surely the killing of them is a great sin." The reason I want to talk about this topic, the Holy Prophet ﷺ's kindness to children and wives, is because one of my coworkers came up to me recently and said that wasn't Prophet Muhammad ﷺ a warrior? Wasn't that his whole purpose, to be a warrior and fight the non-believers? So I want to focus on another aspect, one of the many aspects that Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was able to live, and that was his kindness to the children and to his wives. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said that anyone who brings up 2 daughters properly, they will be very close to me in the day of judgment. He always spoke about justice and kindness towards a child, whether it was a son or a daughter. Once, in the presence of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, a person kissed his son. He put him on his lap, and his daughter just sat there. He did not do the same thing with his daughter. Prophet Muhammad objected, and he told the man that he should be just, and he should do the same thing with his daughter as well. He should kiss her and put her on the other lap. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ loved his children and grandchildren dearly. While receiving Hazrat Fatima, he would stand himself and he would have her sit in his place. An Arab chief was very surprised by the way that Prophet Muhammad ﷺ would kiss his grandsons. And the chief remarked and said that, "I have never kissed any of my 10 grandchildren." And the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, "One who has no pity for others is himself not pitied by Allah." In a joking manner, the Holy Prophet ﷺ would stick out his tongue to get kids in a cheerful mood. During prayer, in congregational prayer, there were times where Prophet Muhammad ﷺ would want to pray longer in congregation, but he would hear a child crying. And he would cut the prayer short because he was mindful of the pain that the child's crying might be causing to his mother. Whenever he passed children, he would salute them. He would put his hands on their heads and pick up the small ones in his arms. Moving on to his respect and kindness for his wives. Islam has always taught that men and women are equal before God. It grants women divinely sanctioned inheritance, property, social and marriage rights, including the right to reject the terms of a proposal and to initiate divorce. Muhammad ﷺ himself frequently counseled Muslim men to treat their wives and daughters well. He said that you have rights over your women, and your women have rights over you. Once Hazrat Safiya Anha was traveling with the Holy Prophet ﷺ. Hazrat Safiya started crying. And she said to Prophet Muhammad that you have given me a slow camel. And the Holy Prophet simply wiped her tears with his own hands and tried to calm her down. Once during the time he was among a few other companions, and Hazrat Aisha was also within listening distance, and someone asked the Holy Prophet who do you love most? And his answer was Aisha. The same person then asked, who among the men do you love most? And the Holy Prophet replied, her father, which was Aisha's father. Holy Prophet could have said anyone's name, Hazrat Abu Bakr. He could have said so many of his companions, but he was cognizant of the situation. He wanted to show the love and devotion not only for his wife, but also for his in-laws as well. How many of us would do this in front of our in-laws? I know it's hard for me to do that as well. During travel with Hazrat Aisha, he asked his companions to go ahead of them. And then he asked Hazrat Aisha to race with him. They started to race, and Hazrat Aisha won. A few years later, again, he asked Hazrat Aisha to race with him again. And this time, the Holy Prophet ﷺ had won. And the Holy Prophet laughed, and he said, we are even now. So this just goes to show you that even throughout his busy schedule, constantly he was looking for ways to enjoy those few moments, those precious times with his wife. During the pre-Islamic era, and even up until more recently, there was a culture that to isolate women during menstruation. Utensils and even bedding were separated. Some were even asked to stay out of the home during this time period. Hazrat Aisha relates that she would drink from a cup, and the Holy Prophet ﷺ would pick up that cup and drink from the same place where her lips touched. How many of us could do that? How many of us macho men could actually do that? He was also very busy doing day-to-day household chores. Hazrat Aisha relates that the Holy Prophet was busy in the service of family up until it was time for prayer, and then he would go and pray. He used to pack his own sandals and sew his own garments. One of my friends joked recently and said that he's never had an argument with his wife when he was unloading the dishwasher. So Holy Prophet ﷺ just shows us how busy he was in the household chores. Even with his incredible schedule, he truly was a prophet of Allah, the master prophet of Allah. Once Hazrat Aisha was arguing with the Holy Prophet ﷺ, Hazrat Abu Bakr walked into the room, and he was upset that his own daughter was talking like this to the master prophet Muhammad ﷺ. Hazrat Abu Bakr moved forward to admonish his daughter, but the Holy Prophet ﷺ stepped between it and avoided any confrontation. This just goes to show you that during Hazrat Aisha's most vulnerable moments, when she was yelling and Hazrat Abu Bakr wanted to admonish her, he stepped in, he helped to avoid that confrontation. As many of the Imams have alluded to earlier, Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is Rahmatul Alameen, mercy to mankind. And I've not stated any of these accounts to shame any of us or to say we're not worthy. We're all ordinary people. Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was the master prophet Muhammad, and there's a reason that he was the master prophet Muhammad. So, as I alluded to earlier, I wanted to point out that not only was Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam a warrior and a general, but he showed us so many things. Showed us how to worship Allah, how to be a father, how to be a husband, how to be a businessman, how to be absolutely just in our day-to-day lives. And I hope and pray that each of us can, inshallah, strive in our best footsteps to follow his example.
Jazakumullah khair. Now I request our dear Imam named Sultan Sahib to come and address us.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I bear witness there's no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger. Brothers and sisters, I was reluctant because coming behind these brothers here is a rough job. And believe me, they covered most of the things about Prophet Muhammad. And all I want to say is a few things, is that, and I'll be very brief, I promise you, because I'm still overwhelmed by what they said. I want to thank the Ahmadiyya community. I've been working with these brothers for a number of years before we even came to this beautiful building. Traveled out of town to some of their events, met their leadership and all, and believe me, they're putting forth the effort as Muslims supposed to treat each other. You know, they're even impressing some of our Christian pastors that are in this city. And my hat goes off to these brothers, and I really love these brothers and appreciate them because they put in their actions where their mouth are. And I was raised up in this community. I've talked to many people in this community, and the actions and the way they're treating people in the community, people begin to look at Islam in a different manner. They're not afraid to come into the masjid because nobody's trying to hijack them or make them Muslim or nothing like that. So I just want all of us to be aware that people are watching us. They're watching how we interact with each other. They don't want to know Sunni. They don't want to know Ahmadiyya. They want to know, you say you Muslim? Let me see what the Muslims is about. And we begin to show that, and we can all see that Allah has blessed us with this beautiful building. Never in my wildest imagination, living a block away from here, would I think that a masjid would be in this community and be open for the whole community. So we need to be appreciative for that. And before we leave, we need to speak to each other, greet each other warmly, no matter where you go or where you come from. And believe me, this is my dream to see these brothers sitting up here from other masjid, accepted, and they're warm and giving up true knowledge and true warmth for love. So that's what we need to be about. We need to spread that and show people what Islam is really about. And that's the best way we can define what Prophet Muhammad was about, peace be upon him. That's all I have to say, brothers and sisters. Assalamu alaikum.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Assalamu alaikum. Our imams and our sister, very thankful to you all for today's special effort to come to this place. And we are so happy and pleased that as Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam was the person that we are here together. If he was not here, we won't be sitting here. Our Imam, Jamilullah, he is always inspiring me and inspiring all of us. Allah Ta'ala says in the Holy Quran, the book which we all believe, Ya Bani Adam, imma yatjannakum minni hudan faman tabi'a hudaya fala khawfun alayhim wa la hum yahzanun. O children of Adam, whenever the guidance come to you, starting all the way from Hazrat Adam, and as far as we are the children of Adam, God can still send the guidance to guide the people. So Allah Ta'ala says that you don't have to worry, and you will succeed in your life, you will succeed in the goals. the difference between the Ahmadiyya Muslim community and the other Muslim is on a very important issue which is going to eventually bind us together. Prophet Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam made the prophecies for us, for the Muslim, for the guidance in the coming days, coming years, even up to the 14th century. He says, يُوشِكُ أَنْ يَأْتِيَ النَّاسَ زَمَانٌ لَا يَبْقَى مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ إِلَّا اسْمُهُ وَلَا يَبْقَى الْقُرْآنِ إِلَّا اسْمُهُ مَسَاجِدُهُمْ عَامِرَةٌ وَهِيَ خَرَابٌ مِنَ الْهُدَى وَعُلَمَاؤُهُم شَرٌّ مِنْ تَحْتِ أَيْدِيهِمُ السَّمَاءِ مِنْ عِندِهِمْ تَخْرُجُ الْفِتْنَةُ وَفِيهِمْ تَأْوِيلٌ. Long hadith, meaning that the condition is going to come on the Muslims. He is prophesizing for us, telling us the long time I'm gone, this will be the condition of the Muslim. What? They only know the Quran as a book, they don't read it, they don't see what is the meaning in it. They go to the mosque, look at the beautiful mosque, but their heart is not tilted toward Allah. And the ulama at that time will be the worst creation under the canopy of sky. And they will tell the tales, they will tell the stories which have no meaning at all. Isn't that the condition we see at this time all over the globe, whether we go to Islamic countries or any countries? Is that the sad thing that the Muslims are going to live, or there is going to be a glad tidings He has given to us? He says, كيف تهلك أمتي أنا في أولها وآخرها مسجد مريم. Don't worry, these conditions are going to come. But listen, I am in the beginning, and the Messiah and Mahdi will come, and they will save Islam from annihilation. They will be the protector. That do we need any reformer of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Quran and the Sunnah is enough for us. That's what he told us on that Jabal al-Rahman. As far as you stick to this Quran and the Sunnah, but did he told us anything else? Sure he did. He said with the time thing changes, and eventually Muslim reach to a condition is worse than anybody else living on the God-given planet. They will claim La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah, but they do all the evil things which everybody else will be doing. Is there any safeguard for the Muslim? Oh, he gave us a glad tidings. In the latter days, the Messiah and Mahdi will appear. They will unite the Muslim. Those two personalities, whether it is one person or two, they will unite the mankind. Our organization cannot do it because what we read, we share with the people. But that's it says in the Holy Quran, Mahdi, the person who is guided by God, when he will come, he will guide you. And we as Ahmadiyya Muslim at this time, we came to this country. This is the birthplace of America, Philadelphia. And how coincides that the first missionary came from Ahmadiyya Muslim community almost 100 years ago, brought this message. And people are not paying any importance to that message. They think that the Ahmadis, the Qadianis, oh yes, we know them, but they never look deep into their message. Do we have the prescription to put all the Muslims together, or we will just keep on chatting with each other? We have to ask this question to Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He will guide us that what is the condition at that time. He says, تَفَرَّقَ الْيَهُودُ سَمْتِينَ مُسَوِّينَ مِلَّةً. Look, the time is going to come when the Muslim will be 72 sects. Everybody claim that I am a true Muslim. وَتَفَرَّقُ Ummati ala salas wa sabina firqa. First the Jews, then he mentioned about the Muslims, that they will be 73 sects. Kulluhum finnar. All of those sects, that what the Holy Prophet ﷺ is saying, not the individual, as he said. He said they are not on the right path. Illa wahida, except one. That he says out of all these, the one will be at that time on the right path. Companion was surprised that how we will see the difference among those sects. He said it is very easy. Wama ana alayhi wa sahabi, they will be on my path and the path of my companion. What he is giving us at that time, Allah Almighty will send somebody to re-establish Islam, to unify the mankind. And whenever somebody comes, people give him lousy and filthy names. And as Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam came, he said, I brought Islam, and we are Muslim. People of Makkah said, you are Sabi, you have diverted away from the path of the grass. So this is going on with all who came from God. And they are rejected all the time. He was not welcome in Makkah with flowers, but he was welcomed there with stones. He has to migrate from Makkah to Medina. There the establishment called Rest in Medina, and there the Islam spread. My dear brother and sister, this is my humble request that as an individual, we try our best to live our life on the footstep of the Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But to unite us as a human being with our effort, it has been tried many times. I know in the mosque, I know the Shura, how they come to a table and everybody walks away, because they don't have that guidance which comes from God. It is hard, but I can just convey the message that we should ask Allah Almighty guide us. If this is the way is going to unite us, we should pray for that and study about it, what it is all about. And the message is the same what the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam brought it. This is the second manifestation of that. Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us, Joju Dina wa yuqimu Shariata. The one who is going to come is going to put a new life, because he will come from God with a clear message. Sometimes we tangled up with our own knowledge and understanding, but we should always look. If somebody claims that he came from God, it is as a Muslim our responsibility to check it out. Go deep into that. If it's wrong, we don't have to accept the person. But if it's right, then we are missing the goal. We are missing our destination. This from Islam told us that a third world war is not too far. And it is at this time we can see it. It can start any time with all the people in the nukes. He warned us that save as many as you can at this time. Bring them in the fold of Islam and bring them close to Allah Almighty. This is the reason that we and the Muslim community is conveying this message with love and affection. Love for all and hatred for none. This is the message. I think this is the unifying message. Sometimes we say, well, I don't want to hear that message. It's fine. But we are really defying the commandment of Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He told us, whenever you see the Mahdi, فَبَايُوهُ, go, say him my salam, and make a pledge in his hand. That is going to cause the unification. I know it's not being accepted at this time, but Allah says that I will make it possible that he will be victorious eventually. We as human beings, we sometimes misunderstand, but Allah gives the guidance. So I request our other Muslim brothers pray to Allah Almighty that if this is the path, show me the path. If not, then keep me away. But in the meantime, we are all uniting force, and that is the Holy Prophet Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Because we all follow him. There's no doubt. Anybody who says La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah is a Muslim. Now, if at this time and age, if they accept his duty, it is a double victory. But Islam is the perfect religion. There's no addition, no subtraction. If you come to the mosque, we pray the same way, same fasting, same hajj, everything is the same. What is the difference? That we believe under one Imam. That is the only difference, us and the other Muslims. And that gives us the guidance and keep us together. We are 210 countries at this time, and all have allegiance to the Seerat-un-Nabi, and many of our Imam have the honor to meet him. This is the message is going to go, because the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us that this, my message will continue, then there will be other people come as Khulafa, then that will disappear, then there will be kings, they will come, and they will disappear, and there will be a king which will rule the world, Islamic, with the iron rod, that will finish. Then he says, Summa takunu khalafatun ila minhajin nubuwwati. After that, Islamic Khilafat will emerge again. We believe that prophecy is being fulfilled in front of our eyes. We pray for all of us who are here that may Allah Almighty keep us on the path of Islam. May Allah Almighty keep us and give us the guidance to be together, to love each other, even we have some differences, because that is the unification. With your brother, if you have any weakness, we're not going to look for his weakness. We're looking toward his strong values. That should be more common among us. Lastly, because this is a special day for Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the Imam of the age, he talks about him very briefly. I will just recite 2 or 3 couplets in the Urdu language, then I'll make that translation. He says, वो पेशवा हमारा जिससे है नूर सारा, नाम उसका है मोहम्मद, दिल भर मेरा यही, सब पाक हैं कलंदर, एक दूसरे से बेहतर, लेकर खुदाए बरतर, खैरुल बरा यही है, उस नूर पर फिदा हूँ, उसका ही मैं हुआ हूँ, वो है मैं चीज़ क्या हूँ, बस फैसला यही है. He says that my leader, the person who showed me the path, and all the light we see on this earth and everywhere, it is due to the Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We say that the prophets came before him. One is better than the other, but holy, my prophet and my messenger is Muhammad. And whosoever is going to follow him is going to see the light here and hereafter. May Allah Almighty keep us all safe, and inshallah we'll meet again. We will greet each other. I'm thankful to these Imams. MashaAllah, they came, they were well ready. Both are great. Very thankful to them. And I'm thankful to all Jamaat members that you all came, and we spent these 2 hours almost in the company of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It was talking about him, about his life, his moral, his values. So we were part of his company. May Allah keep us safe. With that, we close the meeting. Unless somebody have a short question they want to share with his Imam or with me, it's not going to be lengthy, because around 4 o'clock we'll close it, and we'll sit here, meet each other till they give us a call downstairs that the food is ready. Then we go downstairs, then we come back at 5:30 for Maghrib prayer. this is the place now for us to meet each other. We didn't heard only speeches, but we should be, try to understand each of us, how we are, where we are, and which way we can help each other. Whether it is financially, knowledge, understanding, the Muslim should be always doing that. Anybody have any question, real fast and quick? If not, I'll close the meeting. I know everybody's tired, almost 2 hours. Jazakumullah Jaza. We're going to close this meeting with a silent prayer. I will raise my hand, we are going to join me, that may Allah keep us on the path of Islam, and may Allah keep us the obedient of Allah Almighty, and we all worship. Please join me with the silent prayer dua. Ameen, Allahumma Ameen. I have two announcements, one for our Jamaat members. We're going to have our Jamaat election on the 17th of February around 2 p.m. That will be Sunday. Secondly, tomorrow we're going to have one more meeting here in the basement from Police Advisory Commission. They are coming to our mosque. So all those who have a question about the police, their brutality, their behavior, they're going to come and they will launch their complaints. They will also tell us that how we can make a complaint against police when we see that they are not doing anything. Tomorrow, 6:30 to 8 o'clock, all are welcome who are in this neighborhood of Vinawal. Jazakumullah. Okay, Assalamu alaikum. I heard the news that the food is ready. I request all our guests to go downstairs, then we will follow them. Same message for the representative. All our guests to go downstairs, ladies on the ladies' hall, and the men in the men's hall.